House Republicans got together and they said, look, we were going to propose a budget, so here we go. Here it comes. Here's our budget. Because Obama had goaded them, and so 100 of them came out, over 100, this morning in a press conference. They still didn't have the budget with them. And they probably did the press conference without the actual budget, their proposed budget, so they wouldn't have to take any questions on it. And then they released it later in the day, which I think was a bit of a clownish move, but it's not that important. Finally, they released it, and it has what we thought it was going to have based on the statements from last week. Anyone making under $100,000 gets cut, their tax cut down to 10%. Anyone making over $100,000, their taxes are cut down to 25%. It's maniacal. It's unbelievable. And it projects, now, even in their best case scenario, the Republicans themselves are projecting $500 billion deficits under their plan for as long as the eye can see, for as long as the budget lasts. So, did they balance the budget? Hell no, because they cut taxes to the bone. So what did they have to do instead? Of course, they eliminated all spending. They literally did a freezing on all discretionary spending outside of defense and health care benefits for veterans for the next 5 years. All the stimulus spending? No, gone, gutted. In their proposal, there would be no stimulus spending. And we would have a freeze on spending, for the next 5 years, okay? That is mental. That would make the recession so much worse. And, as I just explained, and as they themselves admit, it wouldn't cure the deficit at all. It's absolutely maniacal.
It results in lower spending, lower deficits, lower taxes, lower debt, and more jobs. Let me show you spending. We have lower deficits in each actual year than the president's deficit, resulting in a deficit that is half of the president's in the 10th year. And we bring government spending back down toward its historical level of 20.7% of GDP. Let's look at debt. Our budget produces $3.6 trillion less in debt, and it puts America on a pathway to controlling our debt versus the president's plan to getting our debt out of control. It is very important to understand. We are going into an ocean of red ink.
We're going into an ocean of red ink because you decided to cut all the taxes, even under your proposal, right? So $500 billion in deficits indefinitely under Representative Paul Ryan's proposal. But it gets funnier. So, in the end, they put up this chart, and we've got the chart for you here. Let's put it up. And they say, look at this. The big line going up in deficits is the line of what the Democratic budget would be, and the line at the bottom is the Republican alternative. And you see how their deficit goes absolutely out of control, and ours is reasonable, right? Yes, we still have a deficit, but it's reasonable. Now, here's the problem with this graph. They took the numbers not from Obama's budget, but from Bush's last budget. Oopsie doopsie. That line with the out-of-control deficit that they show is actually the real Republican numbers. That's not the theoretical ones, not their postcard policy, not we're going to cut all the taxes and cut all the spending, but when they were actually in charge, that was the projected deficit, ballooning absolutely out of control. And when confronted with this, they said, well, yeah, I guess technically Obama wasn't in the White House when those projections came out, and I guess that would mean that it was Bush's budget, and yes, I guess Bush is a Republican. So how full of crap are the Republicans? They pretend when they're out of power, oh, we would do this and that. But then when you look at the real numbers, it was an absolute disaster when they were in power. And then they turn it around to double down on the lie and pretend that the Republican numbers are what the Democratic numbers are. Classic Republican move. So what was the response of the Obama White House to this? They said, it must be an April Fool's Day joke. This is a cruel joke on the American public. Oh, by the way, I didn't even tell you one part of it. Other than cutting all the spending, etc., they would also gut Medicare. And they would turn a lot of it into private accounts where you would invest it in the stock market. Would you want your Medicare invested in today's stock market? That's the solution the Republicans had? Please, man. This must be an April Fool's Day thing. So, all right, we'll wait for tomorrow for the Republicans to present their real budget, right? And by the way, what kind of clowns present on April Fool's Day? Their alternative budget. God, these folks have no sense whatsoever. I mean, they set themselves up for the punchline. It doesn't take much. The Democrats and Obama don't have to do much. They do all their work for it.